Now this is the Next Venture Motorsports frame chop bumper. Now this was originally designed for the Jeep JL, but now people have installed this exact bumper on JLs, JTs, and even JKs, which is really gonna help out to sell the style of this truck to make it look like it's actually a two-door Gladiator. The benefit of this bumper is that it's gonna improve your ability to take the vehicle off-road, because what you're essentially gonna do is you're gonna cut the front frame horn off of the Jeep and then add this bumper structure. That's gonna push the winch back underneath the grill shell up against the AC condenser, and it will just improve your approach angle when you're off-road. So not only is it gonna look a lot better, make this thing look more like a two-door Jeep Gladiator, but it's also gonna perform better when we take it out in the dirt. First step, cut stuff up. Bang! Now, if we were installing this bumper on a JL, it actually comes with a little guideline bracket. Next Venture Motorsports sends this to you, take all the guesswork out of it. Basically, just slide it over the frame and you decide whether you're gonna do a little bit of a chop or a great big chop. But on a JK, it's kind of, you're on your own. So you gotta take a bunch of measurements. So the first step is to basically cut a bunch of stuff off the frame, which I did. I cut that lower little bar off and just did a quick chop in the front. Put my winch back into the new bumper, and now I'm just deciding how far back I can slide it. So a few things you have to watch out for. There is a sway bar back in here. I think this bumper is actually gonna slide underneath the sway bar. This is one of those things where you just kind of sneak up on it. So I'm gonna start with a 2-inch cut, and then I'll put this back up here and check it. Probably cut one more after that, because I wanna get back as far as I can. And then you simply weld these plates onto the frame, and then this bumper will bolt on. Before we weld the brackets onto the frame, we're gonna use the bumper essentially as a jig. So we bolt the brackets onto the bumper, put the stinger on, jack it all up into place, check all of our clearances, and then we can weld the brackets on. Zappy zap. Here we go. The next step will basically be to remove this Next Venture Motorsports skin system off the front, that I can fully weld those plates onto the frame while I have it apart. But now the next thing I wanna do is tackle the rear bumper, because the rear bumper on this thing, it never really looked right on the truck. So I'm excited to actually have a Gladiator bumper for the back of my Gladiator. It's back there. Now on the back of this Jeep, I honestly just modified a JK bumper to fit, and that is why the ends actually got cut off, and I basically welded a plate on. And this truck actually spent 2 years in Arizona, so the spray paint that I used on the end of the bumpers did not last, and that's why the bumper is rusting. So I want to ditch this and go to an actual JT bumper. So to match the front, I got this entire package also from Next Venture Motorsports. Now this is a high clearance, lightweight, big upgrade for the back of the JT, because it does a couple of things. Number one, it gives you a little bit more clearance on the back end. You can see there's a little hole cut out here because they're eventually talking about making a basically hidden hitch. So you'd get rid of the hitch on your Jeep, but you don't have to get rid of your hitch. This will mount using the factory hitch. But the biggest upgrade is the side protectors. So the side protectors come with the bumper. They basically bolt onto your bumper skin, but then they have this large heavy-duty metal bracket that actually attaches to these wings, and it mounts to the back of the Gladiator frame. So you get the benefit of protecting the bed, the lightweight of the aluminum, and the cool look, which is definitely gonna look better than this kind of rusty old steel bumper on the back. The thing I gotta do is figure out how to make this work, because it's designed just to bolt into the back of the Gladiator. This obviously is not that. So it's gonna be a little bit of fab, but that's okay. I got tools for that. Hammer time. What? Now, all I'm gonna do is basically make a bracket that'll go onto the inside of this frame, line up with the 2 holes that are in this bracket right here. Then we just bolt it on right here. Then these frame extensions will just weld onto the side. So we'll measure, cut, then we can go cut something out on the plasma table. That's like one hand away, that much. Okay. Yeah, we gotta tweak this thing up just a bit. But look at that, I got a little step. So with this bumper extension in place, I know that I still have to move this bumper forward and up just a little bit. I get nervous around this painted body section, so I'm just kind of sneaking up on it. That's kind of why I tacked those brackets in place. So I'll cut those tacks, cheat this forward and up just a little bit more. One thing you got to pay attention to is the bed of the Gladiator is actually egg-shaped. It's not flat, so when I'm cheating this bumper up and down, I'm gonna check to make sure the center of the bed doesn't contact the bumper. The most important thing is this extension right here. Now, not only do I have protection for this corner of the bed, I also have this cool little integrated step that makes it easier to get in and out of the back of the truck. And it is an actual step because this is the bracket, as I showed you before, that would bolt onto the JT frame and then into the bottom of this. I'll have to trim this to fit and basically weld it onto the frame. So I'm not gonna do that until I know this bumper's in the right spot. But right there, that looks a lot better than that sort of chopped up JK bumper that I had in the back. Now this thing actually looks like a Gladiator. As I work through the suspension from the back to the front, there is one other item that I got from Next Venture Motorsports that I need to basically integrate in with this kit, and that is a full JK belly skid system. Now, the Next Venture Motorsports skids, I love them because they're lightweight aluminum, but they're also available with this UHMW, which is kind of like a high-density plastic covering on it. Now, the nice thing about that is aluminum, when you get in the rocks, it tends to what's called gall up. So when a rock hits the aluminum, yeah, the aluminum's light, but it can actually dig into the aluminum, and actually it's not very slippery. But when you put the UHMW over top, this basically slips and slides over the rocks when you're on the trail. JKs from the factory have a lot of low-hanging fruit underneath the frame. There's things like an evap canister and then the stock gas tanks underneath there, and the crossmember dips down. So having a full belly skid plate on any JK will definitely improve its ability off-road. And this kit from Next Venture Motorsports basically covers the Jeep from the oil pan all the way to the back of the gas tank. Now, we're not gonna be using all of this because with our suspension system, we have relocated the fuel tank, but we'll be able to use the transmission transfer case skid as well as the engine skid to just clean everything up underneath the truck.